Hello, Zohaib.
कुमार चल ठीक है मैं चलता हूँ नहीं आगे ओके 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 बाय ओके are you okay?
Yes, I'm all right. Thank you. Yes. At home.
Hey.
At home, I said. Yes.
Oh, well done. Very good news. That's good news.
Right. Yes. Great. Yes. Ready?
What did they say? It's all okay now? Giving you a bit of
Yeah,
medication and all that?
they are given some medication. So send me that link because I want to go and check that one also.
I'm so honestly.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. Just send it to me because actually today I came. Yeah. Send me the link, then I can go through that one also.
Let me just open it on my phone now because I would forget.
Okay.
Just put a reminder out. Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
I'm sure you can get it from like, Colombo or something like,
that's right. Yeah, correct. Yeah, we should be able to. Yeah. Right. Shall we start?
Yes, I'm ready, sir.
Yeah. Looking at the financials, we saw the financials. So I told you I'm looking probably on the F2 area, many questions here, because I think in the presentation, there are a lot of flaws in the presentation when you compare with the IFRSs.
Yes.
And we have to understand this company gets about 60% of the revenue from foreign dealings, 40% from the home dealings.
Yes.
So looks like the company needs move on the international arena. So therefore, the IFRS is very relevant. Today, I want to look at, I have prepared already a mock for you. Today, we are going to look at a mock for you. But before that, just on the pre-scene, just the last couple of pages on the risk analysis. This is very important. Now, couple of risks they have stated, what they have identified. So remember, the board of directors are responsible for the risk management and to identify risk. They might put up certain people, but they are responsible for the risk management. So one thing is about the foreign exchange risk. As I said, 60% of their revenue comes from the foreign exchange, 40% local. So there is always a risk of the exchange rate movement. So what they are doing is they are using forward contracts to hedge the risk. Right? So that's perfectly all right. Forward
contracts, what does that mean?
Forward contracts means now, for example, you sell the film to me and I will pay you. If you remember, they were taking about 120 days to pay. So I will pay you. Yeah, when you take the film, when you sell me the film, I will take about 4 months to pay. Between that 4 months, between UK and Sri Lanka, the exchange rate can vary. So because of that, what you will do is you will go to a banker and say, I'm going to receive, from Sri Lanka in home currency, some money, or sometimes it may be, I may be settled it in dollars. So you may say that you are going to receive $500,000 from Kumar. You want to sell those dollars because you are in UK, you want to convert it into sterling pound. So you will enter into an agreement with another banker, a third party, promising to sell that $500,000 on 31st March next year. And today they will decide the rate to give it to you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
1.5, 1.6 or whatever it may be. Right? So you are guaranteed whatever the exchange rate on 31st March, you are guaranteed you will get that contracted rate on that particular day. That's a forward contract. That's the way you will minimize the exchange rate fluctuation, because otherwise, when you get that $500,000, when you convert it, it can come to 300,000 sterling pounds. It can come to 250,000 sterling pounds. You are interested in how much you are going to get it in sterling pounds. So you will, because you are not sure what the exchange rate on the 31st March when I pay you, in advance, you will go to a third party banker and arrange a deal. So when I send that 500,000, you will go to that man and get that it converted at that particular rate. That's a forward rate. The advantage is if the rate is something unfavorable to you, you will still get that whatever that was promised. So say for example, $500,000, you might be promised 300,000 sterling pounds. They will give 300,000 sterling pounds, even if the rate at that day will give you only 290. But the disadvantage is, if the rate has moved in your favor, and if you can get 320, you can't get 320 because you have already entered into a contract with the other party to sell your $500,000 for 300,000 sterling pounds. So you will only get 300,000.
Yep.
So that is what a disadvantage is. Right?
It's a risk.
It's a way to minimize the risk. It's a way to stabilize your cash flow.
That's true. Yeah.
Stabilize the cash flow. But there is a possible loss that can occur if the thing goes in favor of you, and since you have entered into a contract, you can't do anything about it. The way to look at differently is something called an option. Option gives you an option to, if it is 300,000, yes, now you have sold it for, you have entered into a contract, the $500,000, the bank has promised you they will give you 300,000. If it is 320, if you have an option, you can just allow that contract to lapse and get the 320. Understand? If it is 290, you will go with the contract and ask for the 300. Right? If it is unfavorable, you will exercise the contract, exercise the option and get your 300,000. If the market rate is 290, you will say, I have got a contract and give me my 300,000. But if the market rate is 320, you will allow it to lapse, the contract to lapse, and you will get the 320. So that's a good one, right? That way you have the advantage both ways. But no good things will come cheaper. You have to pay upfront premium. You have to pay upfront premium and buy a option. When you buy a option, you don't have the lose inside of it. You have only the win inside of it. But you have to pay some upfront. So after paying that upfront expenditure, it's like insurance cover. You might find it's not worth. You have to pay a big upfront premium, and finally what you are going to get may not be worthwhile. Right? So that's a foreign exchange risk. Then another risk that this company is facing is the interest rate risk. What is interest rate risk? Now today, they might come to you on the 11th of November and they will say, hey, Zohaib, we have got a good film to be produced. And so you will do a what we call net present value analysis. You will assume the interest rates in Europe, in this B land, is 6% or 7% or something like that. You will take that as the cost of finance and will discount it and say, yes, it's a good project. When the cost of finance is 7%, this film can produce a big positive NPV and you might recommend it to the board today. Board will accept it. But the film will not start today. You will not need money today. You will need money in another 6 months' time. When you want to borrow, the rates have gone up, not 7, it has gone up to 9%. So there's a risk. So you thought it is going to be 7% and you worked out the calculations and everything and you said it's fantastic. But now to see it is going at 9%, and when you do it at 9%, it's a loss. So to do that one, again you enter into a kind of an agreement, what we call forward rate interest agreement, FRA, forward rate agreement. Today you go and enter into an agreement with another party, right, with a third party. This is also hedging, saying the interest rate, you fix it at 7 or 7.5 or whatever. So if the market rate goes up to 9.5, you have to pay to the bank 9.5. Bank will not give it to you at 7.5. You have to pay to your bank 9.5. But because you have entered into an agreement with another party, that party will reimburse that extra 2%.
I see.
Right? That party will reimburse that extra 2%. So you pay to the
again,
bank.
you have to pay a lot of money to them, like a deposit again.
Pardon?
It's like an insurance or a deposit. Again, you have to pay money to them.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
You don't need to pay anything. You just enter into an agreement, right? You enter into an agreement. The agreement is two-way. If the rate goes up to 9.5, you have fixed it at 7.5. They will pay you the 2%. But if the rate comes down to 6%, you have to pay to the bank 6%, but you have to pay that other party 1.5%.
So okay.
Understand, right? They have fixed the rate at 7.5%. So on the date of the taking the loan, say 30th of June, the interest rates are 9.5. So you have to pay to the bank 9.5. That other party will give you the 2% what you are paying extra.
So if it goes up, they pay. If it goes lower, you pay.
You have to pay. Exactly. You have to pay. So ultimately what happens is with that one, the as far as you are concerned, you are
don't pay anything.
You are not going to pay anything more, you are not going to pay anything less.
Yes.
Your interest rate will be fixed. That's the way we manage the interest rate in transactions. So at the moment, they are exposed to interest rate movements, but they don't hedge it. So they don't have this kind of arrangement for interest rate. So they accept the risk. Whenever we face a risk, what is a risk? Risk is something not going according to your plan. When the things are not going according to your plan, that's what we call a risk. When you sit for the exam, your intention is to get through the exam. The risk is you may not get through the exam. So you have to manage the risk. So the way that you are managing the risk is today you are taking these tuition classes to ensure to manage the risk to minimize the failure. So always we do have a plan. Things may not work according to the plan. And that's what we call a risk. So we have to manage those risks. So there are 4 ways of managing a risk. I want you to note down. Number 1 is to transfer the risk or share the risk. Transfer or share. That's what we do with all the time with insurance. Before we put transfer or share. Transfer. That's what we do with the insurance. Before we put a car onto the road, we will drive carefully, but there's a risk of meeting with an accident. And if the accident happens, the cost of the repair can be very high. The cost of compensation can be very high. We take an insurance cover and transfer the risk. When we put up a building, we take an insurance cover because there can be a risk of a fire or burglary or something like that. We can cover it up with the insurance cover. So that's the first kind of a strategy that we adopt. What we call transfer.
So
second
example
one
is insurance,
like example is insurance. Second one, some risks are so big, we will avoid. Avoid certain things. We think it's not worth doing it because there is no particular advantage, but the risk is so heavy, the chances of the plan going, the chances of actual going against the plan is so much. Maybe we don't have any experience of doing a film, right? Maybe we don't have any experience with that particular actor who is an international star, and we will avoid it. That's another way.
Avoid the risk.
Avoid the risk. The third one is what we call reduce. Now in a company, wherever you are working, you will have certain risks like frauds by employees, like the IT system failing, right? You try to reduce those risks by properly maintaining the IT system, by having a good internal auditor, good internal controls. you try to reduce the risk. Certain risk, we accept it. They are too small, right? Like little petty cash frauds, it can happen anywhere. We will not try to put too many controls at too much of expenditure. Let's accept it. If it comes, we will accept it. Right? Now, for example, I mean, weather is something which we cannot do anything. But certain cricket matches, before it being played, they will take an insurance cover against the weather. So, if the tickets are not sold for whatever the reason because of the bad weather, the insurance company will recompensate them with the ticket sales. So that's a kind of so particularly if there's an international star coming up a show, they might want to take an insurance cover. That's the way for them to do it. But sometimes they might decide, no, it won't rain. Let's accept the risk. So
yes,
if you really look at, these are the 4 strategies to manage the risk. So TARA, beautiful girl named Tara.
Yes.
Answer, avoid, reduce, accept. These are the 4 strategies we have it. So if you look at that first risk, what we were talking about, the foreign exchange risk, they were basically with the forward exchange rate, forward agreement, they transfer the risk. Interest rate risk also, they can take a forward rate agreement and transfer the risk. Right? So that's what we do it. Then the third risk what they are talking about is what we call a business risk. There's a risk that with the closure of cinemas due to the popularity of downloading films, people are waiting for DVDs or downloads to become available. Films will lose money at the box office. So remember, most of our revenue comes from the box office, that is to the cinemas, right?
Yes.
We saw that the big film one weekend in Moscow brought 1.3 billion kind of a revenue to the box office. Right? There may be other revenue, but the other revenue like DVDs and merchandising may not be big. But there is a big trend right at the moment of people not going for the film halls, waiting for the DVD to come or waiting to download the films. So I suppose in time to come, this will be the trend. It was the trend. The cinemas were really going down, but suddenly it has taken a pick up in the recent past. But generally, the trend will be people will be wanting to download the film to their own computer, own sound systems, and watch it at home. That's the normal trend. But again, we have to understand it's not like watching a film in the film hall, because you don't get that same sound effects and all that in your normal home. But with the new sound systems like home theaters coming up, those things also may change it. So the new trend in the films will be to watch the films at home through downloading. So I see in this one of the variants in this paper, a question about setting up a website for people to download their films. So there is always a kind of a counter argument. The cinema owners may not be very happy if we, the film company, allows people to download the film immediately.
Definitely.
The cinema owners will not be happy because they will lose the revenue. People will not come. So that's something. So we have to manage this risk. Probably we have to think of website, right? To set up a website. So this has been one of the popular questions of the examiner. To set up a website, how to set up a website, all that. So we will discuss at one of the mocks that one. It is becoming harder to get external funding to make new films. It may result as being unable to make so many films every year. So remember, even last time when I discussed, I told you they are doing just about 2 films for a year. Probably one reason, they may not be having enough money to do the 3rd film. Reason, you remember they form up a company called OWM Finance for that particular film. 60% of the money comes from them, 40% is coming from outsiders. Now finding that 40%, one film, two film, three films may be difficult.
It's true. Yeah.
Right. Because the third is the investor also should feel confident when he puts a 40%, a big sum of money, that it is going to pay him. If not, he will not invest. Right. So 40% so finding 40% may be a bit of a tough one. So you are dependent on external financing, and that can become tough. How to minimize that one, Zohaib? How to minimize
external
that one?
External finance. Oh.
Yeah. How to minimize?
No. Decrease the budget of the film.
Pardon?
Decrease the budget of the film. I don't know.
No, you can't decrease the if you reduce the budget.
Save the cost.
If you reduce the budget of the film, what can happen is you might have a low quality film coming up. If you don't have, you can reduce the budget of the film, but you might find not having good actors. Yeah. So
and save the cost other areas, I suppose.
Yeah. Even with all that, because we saw the cost structure, huge cost is on a couple of things like special effects and all that, which we need to go through. What can we do on this area? Very important. I think because you have to remember this is a listed company.
Yes.
Being a listed company, I'm sure they can. I'm sure they will ask us to go for a share issue. It's a big company. You remember their share capital has not changed for last 2 years. So that means they are still managing with that same share capital. So maybe a way out is for them to go for a share issue. So they don't depend too much on the external funding. Understand? If they can get internal funding, that's the best way to go for it. So
be more independent.
Yeah, because being a listed company, one of the advantages, you can go to the market and raise money. So you can see when you look at the balance sheet, they have not done that for last 2 years. So this may be an area that the examiner might ask us. So again, you have the F2 pass cards. You must go to the F2 pass cards and say how to raise money externally. I mean, to a stock exchange, to the share issue. So you have to appoint investment advisors and go through the process. I will do that one with you, but I want you to note down that one. That may be one of the questions.
How to raise money?
Yeah, how to go to the stock market and raise money. So that can be another question that may be on this paper, because I feel by giving this risk in this statement, one-page statement, they are given all the risks, they expect us to do something about it. Yeah. So that's the next one. So overrunning is a major risk, as most of the films are behind schedule. The costs are considerable when films overrun. So remember, I told you this one, right? The film is a project. Any project, there are 3 things what we need to manage. We must manage the project on time delivery. We must manage the project on cost. We must manage the project on quality. So how do we do all that? We must have a good project management team. And probably you want to introduce certain reports so that the project management team will fill those reports and send it to the board of directors on a regular basis, so the board of directors will know the progress of each film at each stage. So that's something you will be looking at. Because I believe for this company, the way to go forward is to increase the number of films that they show. Right at the moment, we saw it's about average 2 films. Right? So if they can do a third film, and they may not be in a, they may be unable to do the third film because of the lack of finances. So if they can, because they have only 98 million or something in the bank account, so they don't have so much of money. But they paid a good dividend last year, 129 million they paid a dividend. I told you, we worked it out and we saw their pay. So by paying a dividend, they are having the confidence on the stock market. So the way to go forward is to go for a share issue. And the share issue can be a rights issue because it has to be a rights issue. You can only have one initial public offering. So you have to go for a rights issue. What is a rights issue? You offer to the existing shareholders the opportunity to buy shares at a price below the market price.
Okay, yes. The existing ones get the benefit. Right?
Yeah, existing ones will get the benefit, and they are, because of they are going to get a benefit, we are going to ration it. We are going to issue according to a proportion, so they will be in a position to buy the shares. Right? So that is what they should be looking at. So they might ask you a question, how to overcome this financial difficulty, the financial risk of not having enough money to produce a third film. And in that case, your answer should be to look at the possibility of a rights issue. And 2 years they have not, their share capital has not changed. They have paid a good dividend. So probably they are a good candidate to go to the market and to raise money. So that's something I want you to note it down.
Yeah.
Share move in reaction to box office figures. If our box office takings fall, so does our share price. So remember last year we had a drop in the revenue, drop in the profit, and that can have an impact upon our share price.
Okay, yeah.
So far, maybe the company accounts are not yet published because we are in February 2017, 31st December 2016. Maybe still we are not published. But the moment we publish it, the share prices can drop. So that's a big risk. So that is something which we need to manage. The way to manage is to talk about the future of the film industry in our annual report. Maybe for 2016, when we are preparing our annual report, we must discuss about the films on production and also about the future of the film industry. If you see the pre-scene, I want you to note down in this pre-scene. What they say, this box. For example, the following special effects have been budgeted for films that maintain is about to put into production. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 films production row. Dinosaur Crash 3, Liner Rescue, Poverty Row, Special Disaster. There are 4 films on this thing. So this one page has been given for us. He's going to test us on some of these areas. So there are 4 films. They have a big budget for the CGI, the computer generated images, the special effects. For the dinosaur, it's about 80 million. Liner Rescue 35 million, Poverty Row 15 million, Space Disaster 30 million. So there are 4 films on the pipeline. One thing that I noticed down now, I think you must read on the Google about the film industry. One thing, the new trend is in the films is the 3D films and the 4D films.
Absolutely, that's what brought people back to cinema. You were saying people stopped going.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, because at home you can't watch that 3D and the 4D.
It's not the same experience.
No, some
you
people,
can get the glasses.
Yeah, some people introduce some of the TVs with that kind of a thing, but it did not succeed so well. It's not like going and seeing that film in the pre-scene. They are not mentioned too much about the 3Ds and the 4Ds. but in my wave, that will be the trend, and that will be something in the unseen for you. So because that's how I think they brought the film industry back. So I think in the film industry, how I see in the film industry is the porter has two different ways of cost advantage. The competitive advantage. One is cost leadership. The other one is the product differentiation. I think the way to go forward is the product differentiation.
Okay.
Produce something, a film, where the people will go for the film. If it is something which they can watch it on the DVD, if they can watch it on the YouTube, that's not going to work it out for you, right? Because there can be a lot of piracy, all that kind of a thing. So we have to be mindful of that and think of producing something different where people will get attracted to go to the cinema. Cinemas only will bring you that box seats. Share price, this is what you have to do it, because I'm sure 31st December 2016 financials, when it is out, the share price can come up, come down, and for that purpose, you need to communicate to the shareholders through the annual report and maybe to a press media conference about the future prospects of the company. But you have to be ethical. You can't come out with lies. You have to be maintaining SIMA code of ethics. Be truthful, open, and honest. So that is what you should be expected to do. Even if your plans are saying that it is going to be a further loss, further reduction in profit, you must come out and say that one. You can't.
Then how are you going to raise money if you're not optimistic? You have to be optimistic, but you have to be realistic as well, is it?
You have to be realistic. Yes, you have to be realistic. You can be optimistic, but you have to be realistic. If the things are not working towards your way, you have to think of some different strategy. Even thinking of maybe changing the CEO. Because CEO is the person who brings that bloodline to the company. Right? So our CEO is one of the older people who had been there for a longer period, and he was promoted as the CEO recently, a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Sometimes a change of a CEO can bring the tricks. Sometimes when you have an old person who have been there in the same company for a long time, even last time I think there was a change of a CEO in the last November example also. All the time, a changing of a CEO can make the company do or die battle. So maybe we may have to think of something like that, because if the trend is going down, we will not be able to survive that long unless we change the strategy. So it's a good thing. So maybe if we do not know, because we have 4 films in the production line, if those 4 films are going to be box office hits, we may be able to revive it. But if it is not so, we have to be looking at certain strategic changes we may have to look at. We have done a SWOT analysis. It had been done by a management consultancy on behalf of Maintain's board. So it's a third-party job. So probably it is more credible than done by your own management. So the strengths, very well recognized brands. Surely they have been a company that had been in existence for a long, long time. So when they say Maintain, the people know about it. When they say Maintain's production, people must be having a very good expectation. High level of professional and artistic expertise. Ownership of valuable film library, appealing to a variety of demographics, right? You saw in the non-current assets, they had something called films. I'm still trying to figure out what it is, but I will do, and I think you also
better. It's the right for the old movies they have?
Yeah, probably their own films. They must be having a good library, and that may be their non-current asset. But I don't know how it can be classified as a non-current asset. So we must look at a film company annual report and see whether this classification is right or wrong.
Okay, yeah.
Right? They have a good relationship with the professionals and the leading actors, and they have a good distribution network. Remember, they have one company, Maintain Distribution, which is a subsidiary, who must be having very good links with the cinemas to distribute the films and to sell the film. The weaknesses, they have difficulty in selecting which films are made. Now that's a problem, because whether to do a space movie, whether to do a adventure movie, whether to do a children's movie, musical movie, so many kinds of movies. So probably I think market research will be a good technique to use.
And some maybe employ the relevant people as well on the top board.
Yeah.
Know what to do.
Yeah, because they must have a good knowledge of the people's expectations.
Yes, yes.
The film going audience, not everyone goes for a film, but the film going audience, they must have a, so probably I think a good way, maybe I don't know whether they can introduce something like a loyalty card like the supermarkets, and they probably can do something like a data mining to find out the interest of various categories of people.
Yes, yes, just which genres to prefer.
Yeah, yeah. So something like that, they may want to do it, and maybe through the television advertisements, all that, they can get a good feedback and to decide. You remember the films, they go by a technique called comparables. They look at the earlier similar films and see the success or the failure before they decide. Limited internal funding for new major films. So this is one problem that we have discussed. So probably I think the way out is for them to rely to rely on their own internal funding rather than going for external investors. Significant number of films in progress overrun, which is very costly. So probably poor project management, which they may want to correct it. Difficulty in tracking costs. This is common to all film companies, right? So they are producing films to have a good cost tracking, maybe because it's separate project, each project, they may not get all the information. So maybe it's a good area for you to have an IT system to capture all the cost as and when it occurs through an enterprise resource planning system. So you will know your cost all the time. So you can track it. Huge cost. Yeah. You must track the cost and to see whether you are going with the budget or not, because cost overruns can be very, very dangerous for a company like this. They don't have too much of funding. They just have about 90 million in the bank account. So they have to be very, very careful with their funding. Yep. Opportunities, growing market for cinema attendance. So this is what are losing, but I suppose, I think it is now right, because most of the people now believe it's a way for them to be away from the SMS. The way to be away from the email is to be at a film hall to relax a little bit. So again, there's a pickup on the cinemas, but for the cinemas to pick up, the cinemas also will have to be refurbished, and with all new sound systems and all that. The old cinemas of 30 years back is gone today. So we have to ensure that our cinemas are also of a certain standard. Right at the moment, this company does not own any cinemas, right? No. So it may be a good, it may be a good acquisition for them if they can take control of certain cinema halls. So they can ensure that their films are shown whenever they want to show it. On the right time, yeah. Yeah. And as in Sri Lanka, I think it may be in other countries also, we have some companies, they own the TV channels, they produce films, and they have a cinema hall network also.
Wow. So money is not going anywhere.
Money is not going anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Right. And some of those, big actors and actresses are also full-time employees of their company.
Okay.
And they have various, in Sri Lanka, you've seen that one, they have their various entertainment programs. Those popular actors and actresses, they come on that particular TV channel. And obviously that TV channel is popular. And through that TV channel, they advertise their film. And once that is done, everything is in their hands.
Yeah. So it's just they're employed by the company directly.
Exactly. So that may be a strategy which these people can, I think this must be the way that our company, the Sri Lankan film industry is going through. I have seen, and they took some old cinemas, they bought all old cinemas and they refurbished with all these 3D facilities and, modern seats and all that. And the people who are not going for the cinemas is now going for cinemas because the cinema hall is super comfortable. I believe that's another critical success factor. So I can think of a kind of acquisition on that area.
Yeah.
Growing market for alternative methods of product delivery such as download. We can't ignore that area because still people don't have all the time to go and spend 2 hours on a cinema. So downloads where they can watch it in the bedroom in the night kind of a situation is happening. So I think they should have a website where people can download the film. But whenever you have a website, you have to remember you have to have all the security aspects because the people will put their credit card numbers, all that. So you have to have a good IT system with the security measures so that no one will hack those credit cards and try to download. There was a question, I think in P2 paper, one of this earlier, similar situation like that where people can download films and music by using on the credit card. But one fellow took all these details to do some formatting of files. He took everything on a pen drive and he took it home. He lost the pen drive on the way back from home to the office in a train, but he did not complain that to the board of directors or his managers. But it so happened whoever who got that pen drive did a smart thing, started downloading the films using the credit card numbers of all particular customers, and finally it was a big fraud. So there can be security threats when you go for this kind of a thing. So we have to be looking at major growth potential in overseas market. I think still Europe, America, for good films, there is a market. India, I think there is a market. So there are still good markets which we can exploit. One of the biggest threats is illegal film piracy, illegal downloading. So you have to have your security features very well done. Try to minimize these illegal things. You have to have very strict law enforcement. They have 2 board members with the legal background, one the executive director, one a non-executive director with the legal background. They should be looking all the time to prevent that kind of a thing happening. Unpredictable audience numbers is something which you have to live with it. We do not know, but the way forward is to do good marketing, good advertising. Improvements in home cinema technology is a big threat for the cinema goers because you can get the same effects, same sounds with this new home cinema technology. So you have to cater for it. You have to allow downloading and for the people to watch it through that one. Difficulty in predicting success on new film means high risk of expensive commercial failures. So probably you will have to use good forecasting techniques, good sensitivity analysis, good cash flows to say the possibility of the film failing. Limited backers available for major new films. So this is what I told you. Funding can be a big problem. So you may not have all the time people backing up you. So you have to look for established actors, established cast, and go. So very unlikely we can make so much of cost reduction in the film industry. High marketing spent by competitors, this is something we have to accept it and we have to spend. So we remember we were spending something like 25% on marketing, right? Which I think, sorry, 60% 40% we were spending on marketing. I think that,
60% production.
Yeah, 40% marketing we had to go on spending. The audiences migrating to lower cost options such as watching films online. This is the reality. We have to live with it. We have to have our websites, that kind of a thing. It's a nice little bit of article, the final one, I think. Yeah, business recorded. So this is somewhere in January 2017. Going to the cinema was the main form of entertainment in B-land, 1930s, 40s. There were no other forms of entertainment, no internet, no television. Very few people had cars, but many could walk to a local cinema. But with the televisions coming up in 1960s, cinema dropped sharply. They could watch the films without going to a cinema. 1970s, the videos came, further threat on the cinema attendance. Renting a film which is much cheaper than visiting the cinema. Unexpectedly, the opposite happened. Cinema attendance have recovered and the video rental market has fallen as people can now download films from the internet. So now people don't go for those videos and DVDs and all that kind of a thing. They straight away download. That's a new trend. Although visiting the cinema costs more than downloading a film to watch at home, an evening at the cinema is cheaper than many other forms of entertainment, such as live theater or concerts. Visiting the cinema can provide a welcome break from emails, other interruptions, improvements in technology such as 3D screens. You can see the 3D screens. They have put it up in this little newslet. That means it is something big. Mean that the visual impact of film can be much greater in a cinema than at home. This is your cutting edge. Something you have to do to have a cutting edge is to produce a film which you cannot enjoy in the same way at home. The overall movie market has increased with DVD sales and online film downloads increasing more rapidly than cinema attendance. So the future seems to be download of films. This seems to be that one. So here there are some things. December 2016, who is rising and who is plummeting back on earth? Here at the high, there is magazine we take up our celebrities seriously, and once a year we do a famous roundup of who is in and who is out in the multi-billion-dollar business of making movies. So you can read below about our top 10 bankable stars, and if you want to look at the top 100, just go to our website. Before we show who is hot and who is not, let's start by looking at how our jury of industry decided on this. Firstly, we looked at box office results, both here in B-land and internationally. We looked at the average box office takings of all the actors' work over the last 5 years and applied a penalty percentage if they are not appeared in anything for the last year. We only counted starring or major roles. Public opinion, we showed members of the film going public photos of actors. If the actor was not identified correctly, a penalty percentage was applied. If they were recognized, we asked if the public liked them or not. So these are the ways they do the surveys. Social media is a very, very important area today. We see almost all the advertising coming up on the Facebook. We looked at number of mentions of each star every day on Twitter over the last 6 months. We average the ratings given by professional film critics with the actors' work over the last 5 years and asked a secret jury of insider whether or not they would hire this actor. We give a lot of weight to that. The right actor in a starring role can just about guarantee box office success. Ron one can see a film sink like a stone. And we called up our friends at celebrity magazines, magazines, asked how interested on a scale. There are readers are in our stars, and finally awards, Oscars, national awards, etc. All that hard work, here you are, the most 10 bankable stars to watch out in 2016. Holding on to the number 10 spot from last year is Justin Fletcher, a likable man, reliable lead in many family dramas and comedies. Christmas would not be Christmas without one of his cheesy feel-good films. Always plays a cheerful, bumbling, accident-prone family, but incidental that in reality is sharp as a tack and building up an impressive multi-million-dollar property empire on the back of his success. Not even in the top 50 last year, but in number 9 is Harsh. So you can see why he has given this information. So we may want to hire some of these people. Switch from rap music to films, not only starring in 2 blockbusters, but also writing, producing, and directing, having some cool friends to co-star with him did not hurt either, but he shows signs of being a serious new talent and is definitely one to watch. Number 8, definitely moving in the wrong direction. He was our number 2 star. So now you can see who was not in the 50 has come up to number 9. So he's a rising star. Our number 2 has fallen down to number 8. No box office failures this year, although Autumn Blues was a little disappointing, but his fall from grace has been caused by a massive drop in his likability factor after those revelations about his many relationships. Now this is ethical problem. With co-stars, makeup artists, hairstyles. So his wife Julie was one of the best loved pop princess. So this was bound to have effect how we look at him. Most of the time, the films we find the husband and wife combinations working. So if husband is going on the naughty side, wife may be popular, and that can bring husband's unpopularity also. We have a number 7. So they are given 2 pages of people. So I'm sure they are going to have something big on this area. I'm trying to work it out on this one. Despite well into 60s, still can have an impressive number of cinematicals just by bringing in unique mix of charm. So he seems to be a kind of a person. Information on these people. He's our highest placed lady at number 6 and only female to make it to the top 10. So men seems to be doing very well. It appears female stars still don't have quite box office impact of their male colleagues. Missy had a massive success this year with Under London Bridge winning Oscar. Number 5, Ken Scott, massively successful Moonstorm series. Rumor has it that he intends to quit this after finishing the Moonstorm 10 and try his luck behind the camera instead of front. Since he had fallen 2 places, this may be a good call, showing it can be done away from the big screen. Rising 2 places to number 4 is Min Fletcher, improving his ranking despite only appearing in TV programs for the last 18 months with no cinema. As budget for big TV will other stars to join him. His success is a unique product. Let's look at number 3. Darrell, who doesn't make films, he stars in his own chat show, writes scripts, reportedly not popular with co-stars and film crews, but famous for his impressively professional attitude. So this man, if he is hired, he is also at number 3, but some other co-stars may not want to act with him. So these are issues that you may have to face in the film industry, right? He is at number 3, but the co-stars may not want to act with him because he is not very popular with the co-star.
Too professional.
Yeah. Apparently has not had a holiday for 3 years. Don't burn yourself out, Darren. Number 2 is everyone's mom's favorite, Lee. Lee made the tricky translation from child performer to a serious adult actor. with remarkable showing real talent. Age only 23 has risen to number 2 on our chart. It's a great achievement. So he must be the potential money maker. Rumors that he was frequently late and less than sober on set during the film are causing industry in concern. Finally, no surprise about the number 1 for the third year running, Tony Adams. With the most recognizable face in the film and a thoroughly professional reputation, we can't see Tony being knocked off at the top spot at any time soon. And the best news is he has agreed to interview in the next month's edition there and to let us take exclusive photos of him and his lovely family on the board, something for us all to look forward. So, you can say this man must be the man if we want to do a film, wanting to have it. So we can see different names are given. So I'm sure they might want us to know a little bit about some of these people because they can be causing some anxiety, some issues for us. We see someone having some relationship problems, someone having some problems with the film industry, some having not been sober at times, kind of thing. January 2017, Runaway, Justin Fleming's latest film, opened in cinema this week to an enthusiastic response. The first weekend's box office tickets came to more than 8 million. 8 million, right? So 8 million for 1 week on this film, right? So if we take average, say they were talking about 6 months for a film like, so we are the first weekend's box office. 2 days weekend, we have been able to get 8 million, right? A spokesman for Armentin Studios who produced the film commented they were very surprised because comedy films such as Runaway really attract such a huge initial interest. Most of the major cinema operators have already extended their runs for this film, and there are rumors that a sequel, Runaway 2, is under discussion. So most of these films, we can see a series coming up all the time, right? So these are the couple of things what we have to get it from the pre-scene. So what we have done is, now we have done the pre-scene completely.
Yes.
We've already worked out the first mark for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think we are meeting tomorrow, no?
Yes, tomorrow for half hour meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this mock which I have worked it out for you.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Right.
You're
going to read it. Yeah. You're going to read it. You're going to note down your points, and we together we will join tomorrow and we'll look at this mock tomorrow.
Brilliant.
Right. So tomorrow we are meeting at 4:30, is it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's correct. 4:30 we are meeting. So I'm going to send this mock for you. It's about the risk that I have taken on this mock. Right? You're going to read it and we will look at, it's a 45 minutes. So you remember this paper has 4 45-minute sections. Generally, it moves from one to the other. So from now onwards, I will be looking with you the mocks, the probable mocks that can come up on the unseen. Right? So tomorrow,
if we have, next 5, 6 weeks we have, or 8 weeks we have, if we practice regularly on mocks,
yeah, that's correct.
Eventually we should be able to cover everything, isn't it?
Yeah, because with the mocks we'll be covering up almost all the areas. So now I have seen the pre-scene, so I'm developing certain mocks. So I just done my first one today. So I'll send you this one and we will continue to do this one.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll read this through anyway.
Okay, so I'll send it to you today and you will go through and we will look at.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Kumar. Thank you.
Okay, have a great day.
So the YouTube, the videos are still on the same channel, is it? I can just go and find it.
I will send you the link.
All right then. Okay, thank you.
For today's one, it will be a new one, but earlier ones, it's already there.
All right, thanks, Kumar. Thank you.
Right, yeah, okay, take care.
So thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.